So here on the left side in your tool panel, you can find the type tool, and here we have this amazing tip that actually shows exactly what is happening with the type tool. So we're going to click onto that, and we're going to click and drag a text box. Now you can see your text is all really tiny. What we can do is click delete on your keyboard and write something like hello world. I'm using caps because I like to use caps. And we're going to go in, select the text, and we're going to go into our properties panel, into the character settings on the right, and here we can go in and select, for now let's select 72 points size, font size, and this is our default font called Myriad Pro. But we also have, I have kind of already selected a really cool sans serif font for you. It's called Azo Sans Uber Regular, and I want to show you how to activate new fonts and how to search for new fonts for your Illustrator. So here we have the fonts page, and it's fonts.adobe.com. This is what that looks like. Here we can look for start browsing. There are some really cool font packs, and font packs basically are a collection of different fonts that look like they belong together. So yeah, this is something definitely to look at, but we can also go and browse at all fonts. And here what we can do is we can sample text, so we can write our text that we want to type into our social media post, and mine says hello world. So I forgot an R again. There we go. So here, as we are seeing all of these different fonts, we can go in and adjust the font selection by clicking on any of these really cool tags that help us find a specific style, right? So we have some really cool funky typefaces. I really like this one, Glodoc. That one looks really cool. Also love this one, Manofa. That one looks also really fun. It looks like, yeah, it looks like something that you can really play around with and have it like a font that you can use within a layout, kind of like here, which is also super cool to play with. Glodoc I already have activated, but here you can find a bunch of different fonts, and you can also go in and select maybe a more luxurious font. Here Lust Sans is also very nice. Arpona is very great for packaging. I've used that before. So if you have some type of, I don't know, beverage or something like that, this is a really great font for that. It has this like very old kind of rustic feel to it, but it's very refined, so it would look very classy, but also kind of like handmade at the same time. So here we also have Lust. Lust is a beautiful typeface. You can see it has a lot of weights and a lot of forms to it. We have also an italic version of it, and I think it's really pretty font. So let's activate all of it as well. So here we can go in and activate fonts, or you can simply click on any of these to activate them, and you can see we already have it activated in our Creative Cloud subscription, right? So all of these fonts are free, by the way, so you can go in and activate them, and they will already be available on your inside your Illustrator. So let's activate some of these fonts. Maybe we can change up what we have with any of these. Cool, this looks really good. And then we also have some recommendations at the bottom, which I also find really fun and really cool to play with. Here we have the Lust Stencil Display, also a very beautiful font, so let's activate it as well. And also we have some font pairings with Lust. So here we have a font pairing with Nunito Sans Regular. Great font, let's activate it as well, so that we have a whole set of fonts that we're going to be using for our social media post, right? And okay, I'm gonna get started, but then I'm gonna go back and look it up again. Nunito Sans Regular. Let's take a look. So I'm going to make a copy of this, and I'm going to hold Option, click and drag, and I'm going to look for Nunito. So I have that all Let's see, or was it Nonito? Yeah, there we go. Nonito sans regular, and I'm going to go and remove my caps. So here I'm going to write something like, or maybe actually I am going to leave the caps. So this is going to be a font that I'm going to be using for smaller pieces of text, and this one is going to be that I'm going to be using for bigger pieces of text. So let's make this one smaller, and I'm gonna go and select maybe like a size 18, and here I'm going to leave the 72. Let's try out the Lust. I thought that was a really great font pairing that we can use. Ah, cool. This looks really nice. And we can play around if we all want all caps, or do we want to experiment maybe with higher and lowercase. So let's try that. Hello world. And I think this is a really beautiful font to use in higher and lowercase. So if you want to do that, feel free to do that. Hello world. And then we can also go in and select another font that we want to use. Maybe we can use this same one. So I can also use the eyedropper tool using the shortcut I on my keyboard, and you can see I can sample this text, and I can go in and adjust the size just a little bit. And I want to show you how to kind of create hierarchy within your post. So you can see we have 3 different fonts, and we have 3 different sizes of typography here as well, right? So we have one that kind of catches your eye first, right? And then we have one that catches your eye second, which is going to be our subheader, and this one is going to be our body. So, or this can also be like a highlight font when we want to highlight specific words, or maybe we have like a presentation, and every presentation slide has a little title to it. So this will be like a font that we're going to be using in addition to that. But usually we have a header, subheader, and body copy. So the body copy is basically kind of like a big chunk of text, kind of looking like this. That is the body of the text, right? So let me go in and adjust that so you get an idea. So that would be something that you find a lot in magazines, for example, and something that is very common in the layout world, that we have a header, a subheader, and a body. And for that we need to find typography so that it functions across the board, right? So this is the reason why, for example, here in the body, I would not use this Lust font, because the Lust font has a lot of curves, has a lot of variation. So let's experiment and let's try putting this piece of text in Lust font so that you can see what I'm talking about. Let's make it way smaller, and you can see the difference right away. This one is very hard to read in the small size. This one is so much easier on the eye, right? So this is the reason why for the header you can pick a more, let's say, extravagant font, a font that has more curves, more variation, and more kind of play in it, right? It can be very playful and has can have a lot of character, while the body font should not have a lot of these things, right? So that it's easy to read. All right, so okay, we have that. We have our fonts selected. Let's bring this all to the side here, and I am going to create my actual post. And now you can see what I have here is an artboard, and by going into the artboard tool right here, we can go in and adjust this artboard, right? And if you are creating a post, let's say we are creating a social media post, it will be a size of 1080 by 1080 pixels. So 1080 by 1080, right? So we have our text samples here, and we have our actual post. Now our post, of course, needs a background, right? It needs some type of background here in the back. So I'm going to go in and use the rectangle tool and pull in a whole background. Now I have provided you with some colors. Of course, you can pick your own colors, whatever you prefer, but I'm going to use the eyedropper tool again with the letter I on my keyboard, and I'm going to sample this light cream color. And so this is going to be my background color, and I'm going to put in a copy of this, holding Option, and I'm going to right click, arrange, bring to back, just because this background we put in last, right? This is the last edit that we did. That's the reason why it's on top. So we need to bring it back to the back again. All right. So now we have this really bold type, and I think I would even make it way larger, because this is the whole social media post. And if you think about your screen size on your mobile device, it's really tiny. So we need to make this really large. So I'm going to go in and make this maybe like a 300 point, and you can experiment what works best. So something like this. Hello world, yay. Cool. Now what I like to do is I like to lock the background with Command and 2, and we are going to be experimenting a little bit with this type over here, right? So I'm going to go in and outline it with Command Shift and O. And what outline does is it translates this editable text where we were able to type in, right, into vectorized letters. So now I can actually go in and move around the single letters, right? And this is what I like to do to customize my my typography. Now the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to click Command Shift and G. We're going to ungroup all of these letters. Now you can see you can move around all of these letters as you want, but we don't want to do as much of that. What I want to do is I want to bring world a little bit closer to the other line, because we have a lot of spacing in between. So I'm holding Shift, no, I'm starting to drag, and then I'm holding Shift so that I can basically drag the whole world, the whole word world all together. And also holding Shift, what it does, so when you start dragging and you start holding Shift, it helps you drag the word in specific angles. So I think it goes in like 45-degree angles, so you can do you can drag it horizontally, you can drag it vertically, and then you can drag it diagonally, right? So that's what that's for. Okay, cool. So we have that. This is already looks really cool, I think. Now let's add some information in here. So I'm going to add my name, and again Command Shift and square bracket close to bring this in here, to bring this to the top. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that my name is legible, because when we preview this in 100% scale, so this is the exact size of how I'm going to be, oh wait, never mind. Okay, it's a little bit bigger, but just imagine your post is going to be really tiny, right? So make sure that all of the objects are legible. So what we're going to do is I'm going to increase the size of my name just a little bit. I'm going to go in and select 24, and then let's take a look at, we don't have a lot of variation here. So let's go in and adjust the kerning, and we're going to adjust the kerning to 100. And now you can see, since the letters are a little bit further spread apart, they have a little bit more white space in between, and it's easier for our eye to perceive the single letters. So we're going to keep that. And of course, you can also create yourself a nice layout that you can reuse, right? So now you can see my text right here is located on the left side, right? It's left aligned right here. Now I'm going to align it in the center, because I don't need to, I want it to be aligned in the center, because I have this kind of center layout, except for this section, of course. But I'm going to create a center layout, and let's see. Okay, so the good thing is also to use, or the useful thing is to use smart guides. So if you go into view and activate smart guides, you'll be able to see that Illustrator helps you a lot kind of aligning your objects to each other. And if you see this exact kind of pink line that goes to the top and has a little cross at the top, that means that this piece of text is center aligned. So it's aligned to the big square and it's center aligned to that. So I'm gonna do that. Then let's create a couple more things that we're gonna put in here, and I'm gonna put in a line segment, and I'm going to arrange it. Again, you can see this pink line kind of arranging where the text begins on the left side. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag to the side, and we have this line ready, but the line doesn't have no color right now. And what I want to do is I'm going to go into the outline and I'm going to make it black. All right, so, and by the way, to get out of the tool, so I was in the line tool right now, right? I was in the line tool, and if I start clicking something else, I start making more lines. That's not what I want. So I'm always going to the selection, back to the selection tool with the letter V on my keyboard. Now I'm back in the selection, and with the selection tool, you can go in and adjust objects, right? So now we can see that we have this kind of like layout going at the bottom, and maybe this is also something to put at the top, whatever you prefer. But in this case, I'm going to put this to the top, and I'm going to make these lines just slightly shorter here on the sides, just slightly shorter. There we go. Okay, so we have that, we have the little intro section, and then we have our, oh, make sure to not move around the letters. And by the way, this actually was a really cool accident that just happened, and I realized that it would be really cool to have a little line that connects those two L's. So let's go into the direct selection tool and select the top part of the second letter L, and I'm going to click on one of the points and drag to the top so that we have this really cool kind of customized font going in at the top right here. Cool. Hello world. And then I'm going to take my subheader, holding Option. I'm going to take my subheader, Command Shift and Command Shift and square bracket close, and I'm going to write hello world. How are you doing? Of course, you can be a little bit more creative with what you write into your post, especially if it's your first one. So let's center line this as well, and we're going to place this somewhere here. How are you doing? My name is Julia, and I am, what am I? A graphic designer. Graphic designer. There we go. Now, if you see something like this happening where you have this little plus coming up, that means that your text does not fit into the box. So what we want to do is we want to increase the size of this text box. It's called the bounding box, actually, so that all of it fits. Yay! How are you doing? My name is Julia, and I am a graphic designer. And I forgot a dot. There we go. And that way you can create yourself a really nice little intro for your social media and let your followers know what you're doing, who you are. And we can also scale this down just a little bit. And I have selected all of the letters, right? I've selected all of the letters. I'm holding Shift on my keyboard, and I'm going to align it to the ends of the line here. So again, I'm holding Shift to proportionally scale it. If I don't hold Shift, this is what's gonna happen, right? We don't want that. We don't want to customize our font that much. All right, cool. So we have something fun going here, and we can also center align these two things if we feel like it. So feel free to play around with your layout. Now let's zoom out a little bit and let's take a look. This looks actually pretty cool. I'm pretty satisfied with it. What I would imagine we could also do is we can add another line at the bottom. So I'm going to hold Option, click and drag another line to the bottom just to copy it. There we go. And just make sure that you have this kind of arrangement. And you can also create yourself a nice layout by using guides. So you can go in and create a rectangle just like that, and then you know, this is where my top line sits, this is where my bottom line sits, and this is where my text has to end. And then you right click and make guides. So now this has translated into a guide, and now you can see it's no longer this black rectangle, it's this like green rectangle. All right, and we can also lock it, right click, lock guides, and then you can work around the guides and create your layout and work on your layout without really messing with it. Awesome, so we have our amazing post. Hello world. Lust is just such a beautiful typeface, right? And if you want to unlock your guide, I'm going to unlock the guide. I'm going to remove this one for now so we don't get confused, so we can preview our post nicely. All right, my friends, so it's time to export our post, and I'm going to go in. Of course, feel free to experiment with color. So if you want the hello world maybe to be white or whatever you prefer, or any of these colors, feel free to do so. So I'm going to go in File, Export as, and I'm going to export it. I like to export it as a PNG actually, and then use Artboards and export. And I'm going to go in and export it in medium resolution at 150 pixels per inch. And background color, I'm going to do white, just because if you have some transparencies going, so that the color does not look different on your social media. And then I'm going to click OK, and there we go. I have my post already ready to go.